Ooh, I am loving every time I hear that sound. It is the PCS playoffs. You just got to get trained up for it. You got to get that response and you get the blood flowing. And certainly Deep Cross Gaming did in that first game against Frank here. We'll see if they can do it again, Clement. But before we do get into our pre-match banter, I want to take another moment to thank our sponsors. Of course, CTBC Bank and Caliber. Thank you so much for making the PCS possible this split. And my goodness, it was a crushing victory in game number one, even though Frank did show some signs of life. We need to see more out of them. And I think just about everybody's diagnosed it, Clement. The LeBlanc, that was an unfortunate error to not pick that up. The Ari certainly will be contested this time around as Frank had moved over to blue side.
Yeah, my predictions for this series is whoever gets Ari and Viego together is probably just going to win the game. I feel like that's going to be the pivot for both of these teams here. We got Frank Esports on the blue side. I 100% expect Ari to just be taken in. Well, DCG know it too. But this is where things get interesting because, as we've mentioned, Nestie's champion pool after the Ari gets a bit bonkers. It's very difficult to predict where he's going to go. Rise is kind of the mainstay, but I also feel like Rise as a champion is fairly limited in this meta. I definitely don't think he's an S tier pick at this point anymore, and it does change DCG into much more of a frontline heavy team composition where we have seen them run a lot of things like Sejuani Kennen from the top lane plus the Rise to make sure that Cascada can be a hyper carry.
Absolutely, but whenever you change those things, it gets a little bit more hectic to try and get a more reliable fight. As we see the bans coming in, a couple more targeted at Nestie, that is going to be the Galio and the Twisted Fate off the board. First up, Frank do start off with the Aphelios. It's matched by the Xayah, which has been the counter in vogue there for Cascada. He has been picking it up more and more in recent weeks, as has most of the league. Into the second rotation, Volibear completely missed out on last time. I believe it was banned away. Should fall into the hands of Hana. This does give quite a lot of engage potential, and it will be locked.
I feel like Volibear is my go-to jungler of 12.5. It's incredibly easy to do tower dives with. You have great ganking potential because you can flash in with a hard crowd control, and it's also just a tank in front-to-back team fight. So for me, Volibear has been the most versatile pick throughout the entirety of playoffs. DCG getting off to a good start. Frank Esports keeping their cards very close to their chest, and this is interesting to see for me because I feel like if you're playing on the blue side, you need a very strong, cohesive composition. You're not going to get any of the benefits of the counter picks here. So Frank Esports so far, if I'm looking at these first three picks, and if you ask me, are these power picks? My answer is a decided no. I don't feel like Frank Esports has made much of this blue side draft just yet.
No, they haven't. The Trundle comes in, and of course, Deep Cross are going to pair the Rakan for Woody with Cascada Xayah, and considering how they played last time around, I think this laning phase certainly could look quite good for this team. K2 on the Nautilus, even though he did a bit of a takeaway there from Woody, I don't know if it's going to be quite as effective. Into the second phase of bans we go. We do see the Tryndamere removed. No chance for Kurt or Leaky to play that one, and now the Rise. They continue to hammer at Nestie's champion pool, so things are definitely going to get weird this game.
Yeah, afterwards, he's played Kai'Sa, he's played Seraphine, of course, the Bard Smite from very, very long time ago.
Oh man, what if that comes back? He's played an Ivern, too. I'm surprised if it does. Yeah, he's played Ivern. He also played a Seraphine, but that was against Frank, and they lost. It didn't really do that much. I'd be surprised to see it. The Zillions come in as well. I mean, there are options. We could honestly even see something completely different from Nestie. What if he just, like, pulls out the Silas or something, you know? Like, but I think we're going to save it for last rotation. Maybe not, actually.
Yeah, it's hard to see where DCG can go. They do have a very strong early game right now, so they could play into early game Rome because their bot lane is winning. And that does seem to be the answer that they're going to go for. So they had the double crowd control on the Volibear and the LeBlanc. This can just power through whatever advantages solo that the Trundle does have over the Volibear. Frankly, I don't even think Trundle beats Volibear that hard until post level 6. So they should feel very comfortable in this matchup. On the other hand, for Frank Esports, I like Pretender's Vex. This has been his best champion throughout the regular split. I'm not so sure about this teamfight potential. I feel like if you want to run the Vex, you want a secondary champion that can flank with her. And that is not really present in Frank Esports' composition. So this Vex is going to have to be a bit of a zoning Vex, probably using that personal space as a tool to keep people away.
Yeah, we'll have to see how effective it is, but they do add one more Yordle into the mix, so Kurt will go 2-2 on this Gnar. Last pickup. Oh, action!
Lock it! Both are fine.
Come on, Leaky.
Give me the action.
Give us the action. I mean, I wouldn't mind the Lucian either, but give us the action. Come on.
It would be the first time an action was picked, I think. Oh, no.
I think it would be, but no, we get the GP. I still like this for Leaky. It's definitely been a champion that he's had a lot of solid games on. 3 games undefeated over the course of the regular split. I mean, this definitely gives them a pretty solid 1-3-1 kind of setup. You talked about early game and mid game tempo. It's definitely something Deep Cross are going to be able to do here. A lot of powerful picks. Hana's going to be able to run across the map pre-6 and do whatever the heck he wants. So there's a lot to like here. On the opposite side, Frank, I think they're trying to play to their relative strengths, but it is another composition that feels a little more I want to say like stitched together at the last second.
It is a much slower comp. I think this is a comp that is built for pitched battles. So if they find themselves in front of objectives and they put up the pillar, they put up the fear field coming in from the looming shadows here, they could just disengage multiple times in a team fight and keep Eminem incredibly safe. But on the other hand, I feel like DCG have identified that Eminem really hasn't been looking all that sharp today, and they have come up with a let's just kill bot lane composition. You have the cannon barrage from the top side, you have a winning bot lane combination, and you also have a mid jungle that can roam against Vex and Trundle early. So if I'm looking at this comp, DCG, sure, it's not exactly a great team fight composition, but they don't need to go into the 5v5s. I think their game plan is just going to be to crush down on Eminem and take that 1/3 of Frank's damage down with that attempt.
Absolutely. Deep Cross going all in on shutting down Eminem. See if they can crack that candy coating into the chocolate within. We'll have to find out here as we load onto the Rift. I love that Nesty is just pulling out the LeBlanc to pair things up. We do have a pause getting underway as we start this game because, it's only with Nesty is it unexpected to do something standard. So it's almost like the Gigabrain, 5D chess play, you know? It's like, oh, can he play LeBlanc? I guess we'll find out.
I'll be honest, I'm not 100% confident that he's going to be a great LeBlanc. But that being said, I think for the most part, as a LeBlanc, if you're roaming around the map and you have decent accuracy with chains, you're passable. I would not be surprised if he loses the lane to Pretender still. This is actually a fairly even matchup between these two champions. And I have to say, this is the first time that Nesty has played this the entire split. So, it is a little bit dicey. And a lot of times when Nesty debuts a champion, it's kind of like a box of chocolates. You just don't know what you're going to get.
Absolutely. Nesty, we'll have to find out. He doesn't have to win the lane, though, because he can try to just move things around the map. He does love himself some mobility, and he's given himself a champion that can do quite a lot of it. So, as we get underway, no shenanigans, no cheese. We saw that Frank were kind of guarding for it. There is a deep ward down bottom, so this should give more information to Deep Cross. No, actually, excuse me, it's outside the pit. Potentially a little bit more information, but we'll find out as... Looks like Deep Cross are aware of the ward outside their own red side jungle.
Yep, we'll see how Trundle paths. If you look across the board, these lanes are actually fairly easy to gank for Trundle. Gangplank actually has a hard time, but he's going to get a great level 1 trade. He gets the passive off, Trial by Fire, plus the Q in. That's always the best trade you're looking for as a Gangplank, so he's already off to a very good start just based off of that. But I do think there's a chance for Holo to actually get a lot of good ganks down early. Xayah has so much trouble with the Trundle Pillar early, and so does Gangplank because the orange really doesn't do anything against the persistent slow field of the Pillar either.
It's not really CC, right? It's just kind of a really obnoxious bit of terrain. Kurt's struggles continue here on the level 1. He does land the boomerang, of course, at point blank, but Leaky is just chasing him away from the farm, and He gets that level 2 set up. Meanwhile, in the mid, as to be expected, you do see Nesty actually taking, quite a bad trade from Pretender, just free hitting him there as he leads the minion wave in. And, well, it is a bit coin flippy when we see Nesty on new champions, new for him at the very least. We'll have to see if Frank can do something with it, because last time around, that Victor wasn't really able to translate any pressure into anything on the map.
In lane, we have seen this is usually a pretty hard matchup for the side of LeBlanc, but it's also very difficult for Vex to remain deathless throughout most of the early game. The way she plays this matchup is she tends to shove very hard, and she has no escapes, and a very, very long passive cooldown early. So we'll see if they can find some ganks in that lane. That's where the matchup will shift with K2.
Good hook for K2. Finding a trade onto Woody, but not nearly as much as they would have hoped. Holo's in as well. There's the pillar, but while Xayah has trouble, Rakan not so much. Pretender going to flash away in the mid as Hana is looking to chase him down, gets rooted on the spot, and that has got to be first blood. It goes to the big bear.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was talking about. You know, Pretender, he's going to shove, and you really can't expect the Vex to remain completely deathless throughout the entire matchup. I also do want to point out, quite interestingly, he's gone with the Ignite here. He's not going to go for the Teleport, which is the much more standard option here. I wonder how this Ignite is going to come into effect. Maybe he thought he could get much more of an advantage in the 2v2 than is expected.
I think that's probably where it's going to come from. I mean, Pretender definitely would like to start to snowball if he can on this champion. We have seen him have quite a lot of success on it in the past. Of course, not getting a chance for the Ahri as it's banned away red side. It does mean that he goes on to like one of these other types of picks. But do feel more confident in him on this champion, but it does mean that he's taking a risk without the teleport, getting back a little slower into the lane. Nesty goes in, grabs himself a ward, and Pretender is going to get baited. Chains are on, 2 of them landing, and Hana straight out of the bushes right now for round 2. No flash, and personal space is not being respected in the mid lane, Clement.
Such a good play by DCG. They make sure both sides of the jungle is completely clear. No chance for counter gank. And Nesty just outplays the passive so well. He doesn't get tagged by the fear. Just walks straight in for the chains. And Pretender took that hook, line, and sinker. So we are going to get the phase where, come into the phase of the game where DCG is going to have the Cannon Barrage and the roaming mid jungle. So all eyes should be on the bot lane in these next couple of minutes. You also have to think about Eminem's build here. He knows that he has to go for the late game angle. You can't really contest a serrated Dirk Xayah early on. So this is looking pretty dicey for Frank. If it smells bad, it's gonna feel a lot worse in the next couple of minutes.
Man, that's the weirdest form of synesthesia I've ever heard of, but it's definitely not looking great for Frank as they're already down 800 gold at the 5.5 minute mark. 2 deaths in the mid lane as Hana has been setting up shop there, and both he and Nesty have got themselves a kill already in this one. K2 would like to set up for an engage onto Woody if possible, but Hana now comes down towards the bottom as expected. Level advantage for Eminem. Holo's going to try and match jungle pressure. And I think they'll just back away now that they push the wave, but Holo's going to look to cut them off. I don't know if they take this engagement.
I think this should be a fairly confident fight for DCG. They have the Cannon Barrage, and they have the winning mid lane.
Well, the hook does catch. It's on to Hana right now, the 3v3. Hana going to try to face tank through the front. That's a great blade caller there as the GP ultimate comes down to push things away. Pretender getting rooted yet again, and Nesty is just landing chain after chain.
Well, I think those were all the questions we had for Nesty. Can he actually play the LeBlanc? And it looks like he can. So, well done for DCG for hiding this pick for so long. I mean, I'm frankly kind of flabbergasted. If he can play the LeBlanc, why not play it a little bit earlier? But, you know, he's
because he doesn't want to.
Okay, good answer.
I mean, that's the answer to like anything Nesty does, in my opinion. But I don't actually know. It's just based on the observation. Good trade there on the back half, at least. Pretender is able to file at Mr. Bolton, get Nesty to back away. So the threat of the Ignite was always there, and K2. Ooh, talk about threatening. There's going to be the pillar coming up. Criscata, though, getting some help from Woody. Here comes Hana. They actually set up perfectly before the bear even gets there. They do manage to get the kill onto Holo, so now this dragon should be relatively free, although Hana is a little low on the health bar. They should be able to finish that job without any trouble.
And this does come off the back of the prior fight that they just got. They burned 2 extra flashes from K2 and Holo with the help of the cannon barrage. So they're very confident in these skirmishes. I think they should be taking such aggressive postures for sure here. They get rewarded. Unfortunately for K2, he wasn't able to find the initial hook onto Friscata. You know, that would have been a good window before the Featherstorm could come in. They can't find it, and they also lose on the contest. So with all of this going on, I just feel like you're going to see that Bear going into the bot lane a little bit more. He does have that Stormbringer to disable the tower, and you also have Triskata now with the Serrated Dirk against the Cull. So it's a very strong power spike here. Leaky's also going to have his Cannon Barrage up. If I'm Frank Esports, to be completely honest, I'm thinking about how to equalize on the top side. I really like this play from them. You know, staying in the bot side, it just feels like a death trap. Why not just move everyone up and make it a 5v5 on Herald?
Yeah, see if they can. So getting the jump on it with 3, they're actually able to finish the job pretty quickly. And no contest, no chance there for Deep Cross, but they will get the option to push on the plates. This will give Friscata a bit of a lead on the side to try and, just hashtag win more a little bit. And it looks like we've got a bit of a delayed swap coming in as Kurt makes his way down bot.
Yeah, so we will have the Gnar here, but I feel like this is a lot worse for the Gnar than it is for the GP. Again, GP can remote farm, while Kurt does have to stay alive against the Woody, who's just about to hit level 6, I would assume here. So we are going to see DCG come in. Oh,
that is the hook. Hana actually is forced to Stormbringer away, and Eminem is able to tag him onto the Moonlight Vigil. Great outplay as Deep Cross lose their first death, I should say, to Eminem.
Well, I just think Hana had slow fingers right there. His angle of engage was basically saying, hey, I'm going to be able to press Stormbringer and become unstoppable before your hook lands. As we saw, that is not the case. Hana's just did not have the reactions to back up his pathing right there. So he's going to fall down right there, and we did see the Cannon Barrage used kind of preemptively. They really would have hoped to hold onto it, clear another wave, and that does mean Eminem is allowed to get back into the game and most likely scoot onto a Mythic just completely scot-free.
Yeah, that's a great move from them up topside, and taking advantage of Hana's error gives them not only a kill, but first brick as well off the Herald. A great turn by Frank, and this is what we wanted to see more from this team if they can manage to out-rotate Deep Cross.
Really nicely done here, and I feel like Frank, every single one of these games, we kind of look at the situation, we look at the early ganks, and it looks so bad for Frank. It looks so bleak, so gloomy, and then they just find a mistake here and there, and they are able to punish. So we have been seeing this for the second game in a row. Personally, I don't find DCG to be a team that plays particularly tight. I do see them as a team that does make a lot of engagement mistakes here and there. So this is also why I feel like we are in for a long series. I personally have this one going the full distance, the full 5 games. So
it's
get ready,
possible.
boys and girls.
we've had some short series. I think it might be time to turn it into a long one. Of course, last night may have been the harbinger of things to come. Frank Esports, I think they're not particularly clean in their fights as well, but they do build for the chaos, right? You talked about it in the pick and ban that this is a comp that really thrives in those uncertain moments, in those tight fights that is just very odd, where you can't account for all the variables possibly. So maybe they've got something in there. Maybe we'll be seeing a turn back in this game, and going into game 3 without either team really having a clear edge. But 11 minutes, about 20 seconds on the clock right now. We are going to see Holo getting rooted up. The chains landing. Here comes Hana once again into the Stormbringer, and from downtown comes Woody for yet another knockup. Holo is just limping away from everything, and the team is just going to go ahead and reset.
Well, Wiki trying to take this one fight. Does get a lot of extra
could
damage.
Be in trouble here.
I was actually thinking Kurt was he was kind of banking on the fact that the vision advantage was on his side, but he has to hightail out of it right afterwards. So, looking at things across the board, just to rewind a little bit, DCG actually gave away a 3,000 gold advantage overall in these trades, and we have talked about the scaling and the team fight advantage that Frank Esports do have. They have a much more solid front line when it comes to these objective fights. So DCG, they need solid wins on this GP. They need to stay ahead on this LeBlanc to split the map up and make sure it's more about rotations and skirmishes than about the more standard objective fight.
And they need to set that up and then execute it well. And I think the issue is they can do one of the two, but they haven't really been able to do both so far in this game. All the same, they do have Drake control, and they're going to use it after that first Hex Tech. They pick up the Ocean here. Shouldn't be contested. A lot of vision invested down bottom side in that jungle to make sure that they can get this done. So it gets smited down. We get to see what our rift is. Drum roll, please. And it's going to be a mountain. We got a lot more terrain to work with this game, Clement. I feel like that's really good for the Trundle.
Yeah, this one is super nice for FAK Esports, and I think a bit useless for DCG, because they really want to pick off targets at the get-go of these fights. Mountain Drake doesn't really benefit them, but, you know, they still want to deny it for sure here. It's just kind of useless on their part. So I feel like DCG at this point, they are struggling to find avenues of attack. GP is very far behind. They can't prevent the teleports from Kurt at this point, and we are getting towards the 14-minute mark where there could be back TPs, and this could get hairy for DCG here. They haven't spotted Holo just yet.
Yeah, it's going to be a bait-on-bait situation right now, and K2, oh, they actually saw that one coming from a mile away, and they're going to set this up on the play. Woody taking a little bit low, pillar does land, and wow. Disengage. They get...
Oh,
no!
It's
round two! Here comes K2 again. They get the root down on, and man, they're just sticking to him like glue, but it's a peel back from Deep Cross, and I can't believe nobody died down there.
I swear whoever gets Nautilus in these playoffs just looks like 2 times the better support right now, both from K2 and from Woody. These guys have been very up or down in regular split, but when it comes to playoffs, when it comes to Nautilus, they can't miss hooks. They always find it on the 80 carries. We saw a good example of that one there. Honestly, if DCG didn't get the cannon barrage from the top side, they would have lost Chris Cotta. I don't think he would have survived whatsoever.
I can't believe Woody kept living through that. I mean, just some fast fingers on the Rakan. The extra range, of course, helping out, pairing them together, but holy moly. So, very spicy, very much in these fights. I am loving the matchup we got today here between Deep Cross and Frank. There is definitely a chance. That's why we keep talking about it. Despite how well Deep Cross played game number 1, there is a lot of comeback potential on this Frank side. Rift Herald going to be started here by the 3 Deep Cross members, but the FAK Esports Cavalry is coming to here, although Nesty cuts K2 off at the pass, and with Woody, they should be able to take him down here. He limps away. Finally, the Ignite finishes the job, and right back on Herald, but Frank at the inside track, despite the numbers disadvantage, should be able to get the smite down as they pull Shelly back towards the pit. Still a dangerous situation. They get it done. Deep Cross almost bait themselves.
Deep Cross don't have a chance in the 5v5. They're missing too many ultimates. Both bottom lane ultimates are gone, and so is the cannon barrage. So I feel like DCG actually played it fairly well. They knew that the objective was just a bait for catches, and they do find another kill. Unfortunately, it is on Woody rather than the LeBlanc, so might not matter just as much. And on the flip side, Frank can feel pretty happy with this one as well. They should be dropping this one mid lane, opening the map up so that Vex can answer whenever there is a sort of side lane trap being set for them.
Yeah, Frank, you know, they've been a little bit behind in the gold game. They've lost out on a couple of Drakes, but things are starting to go their way. They have this Herald now that they stole away, or rather took away from the side of Deep Cross, and they have the tempo to really play with as they're trying to cover all 3 lanes here. We'll see if Deep Cross can make a play on them. A couple of feathers find K2, but he's able to sustain through it, no problem at all. Pretender hitting level 11 down on the bottom side as Nesty will come to match pressure. Deep Cross just continue to make excursions into this jungle. They want to set up a pick. They haven't been able to find it.
Yeah, LeBlanc has to be there.
With the snipe smite, that was nice.
You can't believe he got that himself. He didn't even use the smite, so it was... Oh, did he?
Oh, yeah, barely. Like, that was... Like, I think he was as surprised as anyone.
Pops out the question mark. A couple things to note right here is how big Leaky's actually getting. He's been taking the topside Krugs for 2 rotations right now, and he's not been missing any of the minion wave. So that's a matchup that could potentially snowball out of control. He's actually sitting on a lot more gold than you might suspect because he also has the parlay gold and the silver serpents going into the bank as well. That could be a way that DCG kind of suddenly flip open the trap card and said that, well, we were actually investing our money all this time into this GP. Here's how he's going to go. And I also like the build here. He is setting up for the Hull Breaker. I think this is the correct move,
close.
as you don't want the 5v5.
He's actually opted to try and complete that before he gets his boots too. But Frank are going to try and force the issue down mid. Nesty does go in, Nesty does go out. Shelly's going to charge, and not enough to get the tower. Woody's actually going to be chased away, but they don't close on him, and this is going to be the Mountain Dragon spawning. Frank, they certainly want this, but they're giving up quite a lot for it, as Leaky is just free hitting up top, is going to be able to clear away that tower, has the option to teleport or go for the global ultimate, and Frank are kind of just running around like headless chickens right now, not finding anything.
Yeah, they needed to be much more decisive on just holding down this Drake. I don't like the idea of just catching here because now they're going to lose a second tier 2 tower. If I'm DCG, that's completely okay for me. I'm just like, okay, you guys didn't start Drake when you could have, and now you're going to pay the price. So I find this a winning trade for Leaky and for DCG.
This is pre-Hull Breaker GP, by the way. So just wait what happens after this next back. So a big CS edge because they've kept the Gnar involved in some of these fights. And Leaky isn't going to back just yet. There is actually a lot of damage being dealt onto this mid-tier 1 as Criscata gets popped up by the pillar, but fortunately for him on the other side of it. And Kurt's not involved in this fight either. So if they wanted to go in, Pretender goes. That's the flash hook from K2. They do delete Woody, and that is shutdown gold as he had a bounty on him.
Yeah, I felt like that one was, to be honest, not very consequential. You did burn an extra flash just to kill Woody as a support, and I don't think they're going to be able to take objectives here. Cannon Barrage is up, there is no Herald, so for DCG, yes, they lose a member, but it's really okay, like, it's whatever in that instance. They get 2 summoners for losing Woody, and a lot of calculations, that's fine, I think.
Yeah, so despite that, it does mean that Deep Cross are going to still have this tempo edge. The Hull Breaker does get completed by the Leaky back, and picks up a couple of swords to go along with it, and finally finishes up his Lucidity boots. So, looking pretty good in this one. Yeah, this gangplank's going to be a problem on the side lanes, I'm going to say.
I think you're absolutely right. They just let him get away with way too much farming. So, I feel like Frank Esports, they have to be much more decisive on the objectives. Sure, they're going to have to play through a Cannon Barrage, but they should feel confident that their composition, because of their front line and how they can rush forward and turn flanks with the Shadow Surge, they should be confident at just starting objectives. They should not do what they just did and sort of like bait out potential engages. They lost basically 3 towers for that one Drake there, so they don't want to try that once more. And we'll see if Frank Esports can switch up gears. I think, to be completely honest, one of their weaker points has been decisive engages. They're much more of a team that plays with range and plays with their double hyper carries just kiting away from compositions. So we'll see if they can switch gears.
Well, Eminem has had a little bit of a better start to this one, as he did get that 1 kill, sitting on the Bloodthirster now as well. Let's see if it's going to be enough. But the pressure and the fan out here from Deep Cross is really keeping him at arm's length. Hana is going to get chased away. And the rest of Deep Cross, they back in and out. However, Nesty goes in, looks for the deletion, finds a lot of damage onto Kurt. And that's him going for a defensive build. Keep in mind, he's still building towards a Banshee's Veil this game.
Very well done there. It also catches out the fact that Kurt is not building any MR, so is willing to just put the damage onto him here. And Frank Esports, looking across the board, I feel like they're just losing a little bit too much on the vision control side of things. They can take the 5v5s for sure, but they need to make sure the fights are going to start on their terms where they don't lose too much HP for it. They don't know who's behind Woody at this point, so you can see they're very timid in trying to get the full engages off. They're just kind of inching in, getting vision first before they can set up. Feel like a better position for them. Definitely going to be into that Drake. Oh, Shadow Surge.
Yeah, as Pretender goes deep, though. They do have the Shadow Surge. Will it be enough to get the fight for them as the Cannon Barrage lands down and they turn it Leaky, finding a huge number of Q procs off the back half of it. Moonlight Vigil turns around as Eminem just uses it for the zoning, and once again, Clement, nobody dies. Maybe I spoke too soon. Nope. Nesty is going to be able to walk away from Eminem.
Yeah, that was a fight where the terrain was actually very difficult for FAK Esports. Great cannon barrage uses there by Leaky, and they were also walking into Blade Caller. So FAK Esports, even though they start with Pretender, I don't feel like that's the best start for them. I feel like what's like the dream scenario for FAK Esports is you get the engage with K2, you have DCG pop most of their abilities, and then you use Shadow Surge to still traverse through and snipe off the kill into the backline. I feel like that's kind of the best chain scenario for them. But, you know, FAK Esports, at the end of the day, they do take back the majority of their jungle, and they now can set up on that Drake, where I feel like they are going to get a lot more open terrain. It's going to be harder for DCG to flank them. This should be their strong points in the game.
Yeah, this isn't the first time we've seen Pretender on this Vex be the primary engage, be the one to start the fights off when they haven't been able to find anything else. And I think he is trying to build towards the big burst pop-off. I mean, we're going to see that Void Staff coming through in a little bit, but it's not always advisable, especially when you don't have a stasis item and your team is not able to cross the map as well as you. Another Mountain Dragon is up in about 7 seconds. FAK are muscling in to try and claim this. There is a teleport preemptively from Nesty back to his own tier 1 tower for this, but that's going to prompt the turnaround here for DCG, excuse me, for FAK Esports, as they've kind of lost control of this river a bit.
Yeah, again, I feel like FAK Esports need to be more confident. Once they have the Narbar in the correct position, they should just go in and start the objective. The more you sort of twiddle around here, the more chances you get poked out for. And I just don't think FAK is playing this one correctly. They need to be so much more decisive. You have the better 5v5 comp, you have the front line, just go, just go.
This is it feels like a bit of an experience on stage gap for sure. FAK are going to opt to try and flip this Dragon for the mid turret, but they're not even going to get that as Nesty's here. No, they will be able to, but they might get sandwiched here as there's the cannon barrage, and here comes the quickness as they just chunk so many members out, looking on the chase to finish the job. Friscata can see it. Here comes the Stormbringer. Hana instantly flashes away from it. Not full committing on that. Nobody's gone down, and Nesty flashes away from the big Gnar. And K2, no more outs for him, but they do lose. FAK's support player, can they still follow through? Deep Cross, they looked a little lost themselves, but they finally take Pretender down. They lose Nesty in exchange, but might be able to get even more for it here. The flash forward, Eminem trying to save the day, and this is just a very, very wonky engage, but Eminem caught sniffing out on his own as Woody picks up the kill. And that is a very back-and-forth fight, but it results in a 1-4-3 for DCG, excuse me.
Beautiful play coming in from DCG. I love the idea of chasing FAK Esports into the choke. They had to take basically the full brunt of the cannon barrage walking away from Woody right there. And they started this fight on half HP because they just twiddled their thumbs around for way too long on the objectives in this one. Let's see if Holo can get an engage. He doesn't have the flash though.
Mega Gnar is up. Smite is going to go down. Holo can't quite get in there. So the Baron is taken. And with a little bit of honey fruit, too, Deep Cross can walk away. Let's see this replay again. It was a very extended fight, but into the choke they go. And the quickness of Cannon Barrage gets kind of stuffed for a second, but the second wind is that much better.
Yeah, beautiful stuff coming in from the side of DCG here. Also to note that Nesty put Kurt below half HP before he could go into Mega Gnar and get most of his resistances. He also outplays Kurt again on the Mega Gnar ultimate here, so I think Kurt was completely ineffective in this fight, to be honest. And now you have FAK Esports on the wrong side of the map, and then doing his best with the Bloodthirster to hold out, and Holo gets a good pillar on this one, but they just have nowhere to go. They're low HP. DCG can't afford to just wait and kite them back and make sure they get split up, so all of this stems from, I just think, again, FAK Esports just not being decisive enough with their composition when they had a bit of a lead.
Yeah, I agree. And Deep Cross walk away with everything. They have a 6,000 gold advantage themselves. They are on Soul Point for Mountain, even if it's not quite as impactful for them. And they just can keep adding to this tower lead. This should be an easy number 5. A couple of hits of feathers from Friscata going to knock it down, and they are knocking on the base. Nesty has actually shifted to the side lane where Leaky is with the rest of the team because that Gangplank just does so much damage on the barrel chains at this point that FAK really have to respect it.
Yeah, at this point, he should have his third item fully completed here. DCG going to be stripping away these towers and the red side once more. And it looks like for FAK Esports, they have once again found themselves in this sort of hole where it's we got to play until 35 minutes. We got to play for Pretender to snipe people off. And to be fair, he has done that before. We've seen in the J-Team series, in the J-Team matchup, where he was able to go in 1v4 and kill the AD carry regardless. So that Shadow Surge still packs a lot of threat, and I think it's the only thing Frank can really rely on to surprise DCG.
Yeah, we're going to need to see some big Pretender outplays. We have seen it before. It is always possible, but they are running low on options right now. All the gold is falling Deep Cross way, and Eminem and crew going to try to hold here in the mid. They do have, the opener up under Kriskata, completely denied by the Featherstorm, and one of the reasons you love that champion. However, the Root comes in for round 2. They are going to be retreating off the back of it. Moonlight Vigil does not find nearly enough value. And they've still got Nesty on the side lane just herding the minions in, as Frank are just finding really no purchase for the engage. As I say it, though, they do catch the Recon and delete Woody off the map. Pretender does get one, even through the cannon barrage. That should be the end of this particular push for Deep Cross.
I'm very surprised that Woody held on to most of his abilities right there. He definitely could have afforded to get away, but props to K2, does find the dredge line in that corridor, and perhaps Woody was thinking that he wanted to save everything just for the potential of the Mountain Soul. That would certainly put Frank Esports, who are still lacking damage at this phase, even further behind for sure. And we have the Congregation for DCG right now. Frankly, Frank Esports don't have the composition that can push through terrain. I feel like if DCG control the ramps well, there's almost no chance that Frank win a fight, and they are left to probably some form of hopeful steal scenario here. You can see Leaky already doing a very good job at making sure those barrels cover the ramp.
Okay, they're going to try to move in here, but Holo is just paying so dearly for it, and he fails the flash. Oh, that should be the end of that one. I was going to say that maybe with some item spikes, they have a chance to contest here as Pretender picks up Void Staff, Eminem on the eye edge, but they're getting zoned so far out. Woody and Kriskata going to wrap around. That is a lot of flashes to set things up here as K2 tried to find it, but they could get sandwiched on this one, trying to take the Drake away. I don't know if this is worth it. There is going to be the big Gnar, but Kriskata dodges out another Featherstorm. It is absolute chaos here. They do get the shutdown, and the rest of Deep Cross were a little bit too far and away to try and make this happen. Here comes the Shadow Surge from Pretender. The zone away this time in favor of Frank Esports. Woody keeping the Dragon proc as Nesty looks for an assassination to try and even the odds. Here comes the quickness. Woody doesn't really find enough on it there. Moonlight Vigil is completely dodged. Its ultimate's whiffing left, right, and center. And Frank Esports, even though they won the fight, they're just getting chunked. Leaky does manage to take the Q, get one kill. Polo off to the smite is getting knocked up and bopped up, but he takes down Woody all the same. And that was very chaotic, but Frank walk away with the Dragon. Deep Cross have the soul denied.
Oh, what a tense fight right here. DCG, I think they outsmart themselves quite a bit. Frank Esports just said,
be the first time.
We see... Yeah, not the first time for sure. I see Recon, I see LeBlanc. They're not in front of Kriskata, so we're just going to engage on Kriskata and kill him right off the bat. I feel like this is how Frank Esports should have played a lot more of their objective team fights. They could have done this earlier, but we'll watch the start here. They get a great start. DCG, please just go for the Drake. Stop playing around with your food. Recon, just stay on the same side. LeBlanc, don't look for the 2,000-mile engage. Just stand there. You still have the... I think they're trying to kite out for the cannon barrage. He's overthinking it.
Yeah,
for sure. 100%. He's just overthinking it.
So Kriskata dodges once, right? But the problem is you can't dodge two. And that was a nice layering of CC to set things up. Critically, Pretender starts to get kill gold here. Hana flashes away, and sure. But then they kind of stick around here in the 4v5, and credit to where it's due, they almost get more, but Woody really scuffs this one. Doesn't really find much, and the cannon barrage, he kind of peels them away from it for a second.
Yeah, that was not very well chained together. I think if they changed that better, there was a chance that Nesty could have come back and won it. I think it's still a very slim chance. Honestly, if I'm DCG at this point, I lose Kriskata, I say, hey, we're still massive in the lead. Let's not make an 8,000 gold lead into a 5,000 gold lead. Let's just hold onto that gold lead and wait for the next fight. They actually went a little bit too far.
It's a 6,000 gold lead, so they did lose at least some of that.
Yeah, did lose quite a bit of that. Kind of unnecessary right here, but I love what Holo has been doing, just putting a lot of threat on Criscata, and they know they could do the same chain with the Shadow Surge after the Featherstorm is finished right here. Now, Frank, I think they're finding their footing. They're getting a little bit more confident that they can take these 5v5s, and for DCG, they need to get back into the 4-1 situation again. They don't need to be contesting here 5v5.
Really nice turn on the fear, but DCG going to start off. Pretender goes deep and in the middle of the channel. He goes into stasis, setting up the perfect kill angle for Deep Cross. A bit of a whiff there for the Frank mid laner. That is going to open up the Baron. They can still contest this as Holo's still alive, but without Flash, that Trundle's going to have a hard time getting into the pit for a steal.
I'm a little bit surprised Frank did not try to fight that one. Now they're in a worse position going into the 4v5, coming into the Baron pit here. You know, LeBlanc could be in any one of these bushes. They have to be super wary, and Holo has to walk first here. Let's see if they find
he can pop the pillar at the very
Nesty.
least. All right, that's the fight on. They do manage to delete K2 off the map. Hana taking quite a lot off of Holo here, as he's got the subjugate on. Kurt going in for the big Gnar, does manage to knock two. Woody gone into stasis. Nesty is out of this fight. There's an opportunity for them to come back in, but Leaky on the back half is making them work for it. M&M, though, cleaning up. It ends up being an indecisive fight, 2 for 2.
Yeah, great play there by M&M to clean up the double kill. And I felt like Frank Esports needed to go all in on the last fight as well. Like, if you don't save Pretender, you're actually in a much worse position. They let Pretender go, and they nearly lose Baron off of that play, but they do get the heroic outplay here. I feel like Kurt did a really good job. Even though he does fall down, he does stop most of the damage and build a lot of room for M&M to start pouring out those Severin shots.
Yeah, you're talking about how the Frank strategy was going to be, a while back when they were forced into their base, wait for that 35-minute mark. Well, we're only a minute away, Clement. There's big opportunity here, and they could build a Drake stack of their own. Very important for them to get the mountains as best they can. It would be a very late one if they end up getting the soul, but still, I do think with 35 seconds to go, Deep Cross are in a much better position to try and take that away, but we've seen these fights go every which way, and now M&M pretty fed here, Guardian Angel on as well. It's going to be a little harder for them to try and get the outplay.
We'll see if the Lion has finally wakened up. Like, Frank Esports, despite the gold deficit, I think they have the far superior 5v5. If they just walk in hard engage, I think they win.
They might. Nesty, he was looking for a snipe. He does find K2 and half his health bar, but that's not the biggest priority target, right? As long as K2 can get in there with the dredge line, set up the knock-up, and get the fight going for the team, that's massive. They do manage to find a little bit Nesty on the side, looking for Kurt. Narvar is almost up, though. Woody, they're trying for the pincer. They get the knock-up on the quickness. Do they have the fight? Woody's taken down. Here's Nesty looking for the deletion, but Holo is able to tank through it, and that cannon barrage way too telegraphed. Deep Cross on the retreat path. K2 finds the hook. Leaky walking away from it here. They might have to seed this dragon. This would be soul point for both teams, but Deep Cross aren't going to give it up just yet.
Yeah, we do have Nessie with the teleport trying to come back into this one, and Leaky is in a very good position.
No, the smite down, it's taken. That is going to be the soul for Hana and Deep Cross, but will they lose the fight on the back of it? Leaky is going to have to take that blast cone. Does dodge out of the ultimate. That's a big Featherstorm for Criscata. Doesn't find the damage. Frank walk away empty-handed, but oh, it was close.
And they're going for Baron after this one. There's a 42-second cool death timer on to Nesty. They will get spotted out, and I'm not sure this is doable for them. M&M does have the right guns for it, though. The Crescendum plus the Onslaught is going to take this Baron down incredibly fast.
Here's Hana. He has Flash. He has ult. This is dangerous. It may be a 4v5, but Deep Cross have done crazier things. Leaky wrapping around the side. K2 Holo very low. And all of a sudden, panic button's starting to be pressed here. Frank know that they're in danger of getting sandwiched right now. K2 trying to sit around the side. Woody dodges away. Battle dance there. This is going to come up to a smite fight. It's already down to about 3,000. No, the Gnar against the wall. Trying to buy the time. Here comes the big bear. And he's going to go in. And the Baron gets secured by M&M. And now Frank are trying to push for the fight. Leaky caught behind enemy lines. And I don't care how tanky, how big that gangplank is. He is going back to the base. Shut down gold for M&M, and everything's coming up, Frank.
I don't know what is wrong with these teams, but they take the riskiest plays I have ever seen. First off with DCG, going in with the Woody play, I just don't think that was worth it whatsoever. It's super risky, low return. They could have zoned out even further, but they go for it. They lose the fight, and then FAK Esports returned with the 50-50 Baron play. Like, this one was, it was really on edge because you do have Nesty that can join the fight afterwards with the TP, and they also have the Mountain Soul plus the potential to just flash in for the potential smite. I feel like, to be completely honest, FAK Esports got so incredibly lucky that they were still able to get the Baron in this one. And a couple critical plays here is, of course, they do find the kill onto Kriskata before anything does happen. Kriskata not even able to throw a single auto attack, makes this fight 5v3 for a large portion of it, and FAK Esports are able to clean up. Was it the play I wanted to see? Probably not, but it did work.
I mean, yeah, it did work. You know, Clement, I looked at the cooldowns in that replay. Both junglers early smited. Hana got a lot closer. But I was wondering why the heck Eminem was the one who secured Baron. I'm like, and that's exactly why. Everybody got panicky there. And, I mean, it's such a risk, but damn is it if it isn't exciting here. And Frank are looking to go big or go home. This is an elimination match here in the PCS Spring Split Playoffs. 38 minutes scaling on their side. A massive Eminem right now on the bottom side with Baron on to many of their members. All 5, in fact. This is going to be Deep Cross trying to defend after having control of this game for so long.
If I'm FAK Esports, this should be a fairly easy game plan. Make sure everyone is stuck together. Don't do what Kurt is doing right now and give them an opportunity. Get the cannon barrage first, get the ultimate down from Kriskata, and let's just run the same plan again. That's It should be a very strong point for them. Kurt, just don't die, and we're good.
Well, Kurt didn't die. He's going to back to base, though, and doesn't have access to the teleport, which means this push gets stopped for now. Tower does fall, so Frank are able to break into the base, and you have to think the next big fight is going to hinge on the Elder Dragon. Considering how many have gone, how many regular dragons have gone away this game, I'm kind of surprised we got to this point, but, well, we've reached the dip and the flip in the gold graph, Clement.
Yeah, this game has been very interesting. I'll be honest, I'm not confident in either side winning, despite the
somebody
leads
has to. The good news is somebody has to.
Yeah. For FAK Esports, I think they do have a decided lead right now. If you look at Eminem, he's so incredibly difficult to kill. He has the GA. He does have the lifeline coming in from the Maw, exactly. And also the just extra sustain from the Bloodthirster as well. So he should be able to stay alive and weather the storm through all of it. And if you look on the other side, outside of the Ignite, there is no anti-heal. There's there is one from Kriskata, but he has been the primary target throughout most of these fights. So he has to keep alive to make sure that they cut down that heal. And for once, I want to see FAK Esports actually take a decisive fight. Walk in like you own the place. You have the better front line. Just shoot DCG away, stay close, and make sure you can engage if DCG try to flank you. If they try to flank you, just run straight forward onto Xayah. That's all you need to do. Let's go, Frank.
Yeah, there have been so many like weird dances around engages from both teams in this game, and yeah, we're 40 minutes in. It's a very, very long one right now as it has flipped back and around, and 50 seconds until the Elder spawns. DCG, they do want to keep a presence in this area, but they don't have too many deep wards now. Everything's going to be up. Every ultimate, every cooldown going to be available for this fight. And I feel like this could decide the game. Death timers are looking pretty high.
Okay, so for Frank, again, they have the big lead. All they need to do, shove mid-wave and take the path that doesn't go through the Raptor ramp. You want to go through mid. That offers you a lot more opportunities to just not get completely blasted by the barrel chains here. No, you can pillar this brush. You're going to have vision, and you're going to know where everyone is. You have the Meganar. Just start walking towards it.
Yeah, Nesty can't delete anybody at this point. Elder's on the map, though, and I think DCG are trying to call the bluff here and force Frank into the fight. This is starting to get shredded pretty quickly. between Hana and Kriskata. Nesty and Woody now going to be joining in. Frank looking to close on. There was a bit of a slowdown, but a chance is going to be in for the Smite Steal. Here comes the quickness. Woody has already popped it on. Into the pit they go. It gets taken away. Leaky gets the secure on this one, but can they survive the fight afterwards? It looks like the answer is yes. They use their tools to escape. Once again, Operation Smash and Grab for Deep Cross Gaming.
I'm losing my mind here. I'm actually just losing my mind. Frank
Nothing
Esports
makes sense,
just walk
Clement.
in.
Up
They
is
play
down.
that so slow.
Up is down. Black is white.
Frank
leads don't
Esports
matter.
are the epitome of explaining the concept of being too risk averse is actually a risk in and of itself. They didn't start walking towards the Elder Drake until DCG already had it at half HP. Like, how does that make sense? They had Mechanic for so long.
It's like getting on the motorway and like doing like half the speed limit. Like you think you're being safe, but you're really just causing more problems.
There's no way DCG should have gotten away with such a clean Elder Dragon. They didn't even lose anyone.
They're gonna get Baron
They
too.
get to zone.
This is free. This is free real estate right now, Clement. What is happening? Even I'm confused. They just got Elder mostly for free, and then they just got Baron completely for free. It's like Frank fell asleep with their keyboards for a few seconds.
I just think Frank are not used to playing aggressive. That's all it is. Like, they actually have the lead at this point. Eminem is actually unkillable. Like, Nesty is not fed. You don't have members that can get sniped out by Nesty. And I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like Frank Esports, it's just the culmination of them playing a very slow style for the entire split and not really grasping opportunities when they have them. That being said, though, they are facing a 5v5 right in front of their own base, and the Elder Dragon is down. So maybe Frank Esports, it's about to be down, excuse me. So, you know, maybe Frank Esports can still turn this around.
Well, they're running out of time right now, and out of inhibitors as well. That's going to be 2 taken on the split. And, you know, Clement, Frank Esports don't have experience playing this late in the game because none of their games have gone really this far. The only one that came close was against Impunity a couple of weeks ago, and I think this is about to end here. 44 minutes on the clock, and
please,
you gotta take the fight or you're just gonna lose the whole thing.
Please.
Deep cross, looking for the deep cuts right now. They do get the knockup, but that's gonna be the last of the Nexus turrets. Kurt already down to half HP, tries to get the big Gnar, gets baited right on in. They get a big knockup. Woody on the engage, tag in the big bear, and they're just gonna keep this going. Eminem might have enough DPS to still carry this game. He's got one. He's got 2. Just hit the Nexus. Oh no, they're losing it all. Leaky, he's gonna try for it. Hana's around the side. Can he end the game? No, he cannot. What is happening?
As an analyst, this game has been so painful, but it's so good at the same time. DCG, 40-second respawn timers. There are still 2 teleports left, so Frank Esports, they have to clear their base. In the meantime, they cannot afford to do the full push-in. Frank Esports...
This is going to be a backdoor. This has got to be a backdoor play.
I mean, you know, Frank could have done this so much earlier on. This is a fight where they were going into a full minion wave and the Elder Dragon, and they still won the 5v5. They still could win the 5v5. Why don't you just do this earlier?
They won the 3v5. Look at Kurt. Kurt's dead. He's already dead, right? He's done. Now it's a 4v5. Now it almost turns into a 3v5, and
Eminem's unkillable.
Eminem just goes
actually cannot die late game. He's just the superior carry. Look at him. He's taking the bot lane 1v2, and he's alive. He comes back and finishes off Leaky.
And Hana almost ends it. He almost ends it. That's 1 hit. Oh, maybe 2. Good lord. All right, so resets. We're at 46 minutes in the game. Gold means absolutely jack at this point. Items are pretty much full build on almost everybody. Let's look at the damage dealt that last fight. Oh my goodness, Eminem got out damaged by Kriskata. How the heck did that happen?
Yeah, that's it. Well, let's be honest. Kurt did die for free there to start the fight off. So they got a lot of kind of meaningless DPS. And now DCG has so many ways to play it. If I'm DCG, I would be willing to wait for the next bear. I think Eminem has proven that he's incredibly powerful at this point, and as Chris Kata, I don't have my summoners. I think it's going to be hard to survive this one. I think the best objective, the best way to play this game is just layer these timers down. You're going to have that Baron, and you can do a backdoor. You have double TP too. So it's going to be super hard for Frank Esports to cover their entire base. You can just walk in and pop the Nexus.
Yeah, they're going to just try to pull them apart right now as they look to fire down on this last tower. This is the last tower that Frank have in this game, by the way, and it's gone.
They also have the Elder to play around too, which is coming up a lot sooner at this point.
I
feel like if DCG do not go for a full engage against Frank Esports, they cannot lose.
Okay, you got to back away now if you're Cascada. That's the Featherstorm burned. And the Nexus is at about a little over half its hit points. They're going to keep the pressure on, though, but they don't have cooldowns. If they get baited into a fight, this could be trouble.
DCG just turn for Frank... Elder, please.
Yeah, just holding. Is this the longest game we've had all split? It's got to be close.
Yeah, we're going on 50 minutes.
Yeah. In this meta? All right, well, this is going to be Elder. Elder number 2.
This game has been far more entertaining than it had any right to be. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah,
it's so fun,
wait a minute. Wait a minute. We could be trouble right now. That's going to be the double root down. Eminem,
he's down.
He's found one. No cooldowns. They got a little too hyphy now. Somehow, they only lose Cascada. I think they still get Elder on this one.
But Frank
Pretender has to stay in base.
Onto this one. They only have Pretender defending the base, though, so this is going to be a 4v4.
Okay, Woody. He's got to be a little careful right now. He just go for the full quickness. Can't quite find K2. Gets pulled in. Elder is secured. And Woody dashes, battle dances back to his teammates. They've got to back away right now. But they do manage to take the Elder off the map. However, Baron is in 20 seconds. You have to think Frank are going to try to fight for that one.
Yeah, and Chris Kata is not going to be up here, so it will be a 5v4, but the question is, how will Frank actually try to hold their base together? They don't have any more TPs, and Nesty is clearly looking for an opening here, so I think what's going to happen is, most likely Frank still have to give up on the Baron. They just can't contend with the fact that DCG could end the game, especially with Nesty, who's so slippery.
Eminem has 500 CS, Clement. Oh, what is this game? All right, well, this is Baron. Yeah, there's literally nothing for Frank to take on the map right now, and 2 inhibitors do respawn. So Frank can get a little bit of a reprieve here if they are able to constantly threaten Deep Cross. And I feel like we've reached this interesting point of the game where it is just it is a bit of a stalemate.
The win conditions are so damn clear for both sides. DCG, you just sneak a backdoor. If you get GP in there, the game is over. Look at his item build. He is packing close to 400 AD at this point. He's probably over 400 AD. On the other side, at Frank Esports, what they need to do is decisive teamfight. They not only need to win the teamfight, they need to get it in a manner where they can then come back and still defend the base. So those are the win conditions here. For DCG, that basically means if they don't fully commit, they cannot lose. So they just need to keep their distance, let the cannon minions do their job.
Yeah, Winions, that's the play. So, getting the inhibitor in the middle, now trying to make it happen in the top. Pretender being zoned off a little bit. I do have confirmation from production. This is our longest game of the split at 50 minutes. The second longest. The previous record holder was PSG versus Beyond Gaming. Somehow that doesn't surprise me. But this time, Frank and DCG have managed to do the outplay here. They do jump onto Pretender. A couple of stopwatches popped here, and that's going to be a big backaway. Kurt gets the shove, but there's no follow-up for his team. Goes into the resurrection, goes in the backline. Here comes Pretender, but he's going to get shut down by Cascada. Now Holo going to drop as well, and Eminem may be unkillable, but unfortunately for him, the rest of his team is not, and Deep Cross Gaming will ride this one to the finish line. 2-0 up, match point in the series.
I'll be honest, I'm not sure what I just witnessed right there. I feel like
50 minutes of League of Legends, baby.
Yeah, that was very interesting. I feel like for DCG, they actually took a pretty big risk with that one. But unfortunately for Frank, they weren't able to utilize that opportunity. They overcommitted on Kurt. They definitely overcommitted on Pretender. And if you looked at the final fight, Eminem was just standing there and looking at his solo laners going like, what are you guys doing? Like, you guys know that you just need to protect me, and I'm the win condition here, right? Instead,
Yeah.
they each go in, they lose the majority of their HP bars, and they actually hand a difficult situation for DCG and turn it into kind of a cakewalk. So, I'll be honest, I feel like this game, after after Frank found a decisive win around the Drake and the Baron, this game should have been just book closed, game shut, and over. That should have been done. Frank Esports had the decided lead.
I mean, this was such a bonkers game where everything got thrown out the window, and I feel like you get into those situations as both these teams, you start seeing bigger risks, higher stakes. It's somebody is going to lose it all sooner or later, and unfortunately for Eminem, his team got itchy trigger fingers there at the end, Clement, as they were trying to hold on, and we had our longest game of the split in Game 2 of the playoffs. I did not expect that. But even if we get a 3-0, I think this has been longer than some of the 4-game series we've had.
Yeah, for reference, we actually finished around 7:45 p.m. In the DCG versus PSG series, and I think we're probably close to being over that already. Yeah. So,
a lot more league this time around, round 2.
You get a good bang for your buck.
It's still, hey, you're getting more. It's like those when you go to the supermarket and you see the packages that are like 30% more. And it just looks a little bit bigger. That's what we got out of Game 2. Family size.
Coming into this draft, again, I felt like DCG had a really good early game. They did mess up on the Herald, especially Hana getting killed when you're trying to trade towers. That was a 3,000 gold rebound for the side of DCG, and DCG were able to take that into further Drakes, where their composition should have the lead. But I feel like they were just so hesitant at pulling the trigger sometimes. They didn't understand how to walk in onto the river, and they allowed Nesty to poke them away. They allowed Leaky to get far more damage off than he should have been able to. Like, Leaky was getting triple rotations of barrels when he really should have just been allowed one. You know, you see the barrel pop and you just walk in. You don't back off, you walk back in. You walk back in. You have the front line to take that damage. So they gave the Elder Drake away, and I felt like that was kind of the downfall for Frank Esports. After the Elder Drake, it was the Baron into the triple inhibitor. Whereas if you saw that Hail Mary 3v5 play, they should have just been able to walk Frank Esports down. Eminem was actually unkillable throughout the majority of the late game, and they didn't utilize it.
Yeah, it's to borrow a phrase of yours, it really was a head scratcher because they just did not seem to understand when they were able to muscle in. They didn't have the confidence. I wonder if it is a bit of stage nerves too, because these are some younger and somewhat less experienced players compared to the side of Deep Cross. They didn't have as much time playing together. I don't think it was necessarily a coordination issue, although it did happen at the end there. But it did seem like they were playing more scared than I expected this team to be, and I wonder if the stage nerves are getting to them.
Yeah, I feel like they need to jump out of the mentality of infinite scaling. They definitely
it runs out eventually.
True. They need to have like more of a switch approach to it. It's like, oh, we have the win now. I'm just going to flip the switch and we go in. Leaky is not going to be a good front line. He's building Hullbreaker. He gets 0 benefits in 5v5 team fights. And their win condition, their only win condition, is actually to poke us out with the Gameplank and the LeBlanc. So if we go in, we take the first rotation, fine, but we fully commit to the team fight, we should still be able to win most of these. I hope they learned their lesson, and all I want from Frank Esports, I could do with less entertainment. I just want more decisiveness.
Well, we certainly have at least had that entertainment to kick things off here. And yeah, 2-0 up for Deep Cross. We could still be on for the sweep. We'll have to find out. What a gold graph game. It went down, it went up. It was an absolute roller coaster. And at the end, Eminem still outdamaged the Xayah, but only just by about 4,600 or so. And oh boy, that was a game of League of Legends, everybody. If you're tuning in, we don't normally get them like that, but something special happened when these two come together.
Longest game of the split so far, 50 minutes in.
Oh boy.
If I'm looking at the draft, I will say though, despite the conclusions for this game, I actually think Frank are on the right track. I don't think DCG have actually showcased that they're clean enough to snowball them completely with tempo compositions. I actually think that it's mainly the onus is on Frank Esports. If you just play a little bit cleaner, DCG has shown that they will give you the opportunities to come back, that you can get into these 35-minute games despite some pretty iffy early games. So I actually think Frank are going to stick to their guns with this Aphelios, go for the front-to-back compositions. It's just about execution and cleaning up these mistakes.
Yeah. Well, sticking to your guns, I see what you did there. It does make a lot of sense. I think this Vex did all right, but the primary engage wasn't quite there for Frank. They definitely have to dial it in a bit more if they want to stay alive in the series, because this is on the line for continuing the playoff lives here. And our MVP will be Leaky. One of the lower score lines, but I think that doesn't really belie what he was able to get done as a gangplank. You want to talk about infinite scaling? That's definitely a champion that can take advantage of it because he was full bank plank at the end.
Gangplank was critical in this game, especially if you think about the bot lane. There were actually a lot of trades where they would not have been able to disengage or keep alive without the cannon barrage coming in from Leaky. I felt like he did a good job in his own lane. He built correctly with the hull breaker because he recognized that they had to split the composition up from Frank Esports to continue scaling up. He did that correctly, and I just feel like he actually had a lot of those cannon barrages where it was more preemptive hurting of the enemy team, like forcing them into chokes and predicting that they would have to walk through the cannon barrage. So I think he did a great job in these aspects. And if this draft continues to be blue side Frank Esports, which I expect it to be, I want to see what extra sauce Leaky has for us because he has such wide champion.
Yeah, and Leaky's looks so much better. I feel like the PSG match, it's like maybe it's just Hanabi is just his kryptonite. I'm not really sure. He's looked better in lane. He's also looked better in the decision-making. Leaky's definitely a player that I think is a little dependent on how well he's able to get out of that laning phase, but he looks so darn good if he at least goes even, and that's encouraging for Deep Cross here in their individual skill matchups. So
hopefully...
Yeah.
Hopefully Leaky shows us something special. He's got
I'd love to see more, but if they don't ban him out, if they don't challenge, it's all been focused on Nesty. But we'll see if the sweep can be completed. It hasn't been clean, but it has been fun. We'll be back right after this.